Welcome back to The Architect. My name is Edward Mugo. Today we are going to talk about how much does it cost to do a project. Very basic. That question is as basic as they come, but very important. What are the 4 or 5 things one needs to know before you decide whether you're moving on with a project? The first thing probably that comes to mind in my mind would be, what size of development are you anticipating? If you're doing a home, a 4-bedroom home of 150 square meters will cost you more or less than a same home for 300 square meters. That is because cost in architecture or in building is calculated per square meter. And what that assumes is that if you have a square meter of building space, this square meter costs a certain amount of money, right from the foundation right through to the roof. So for example, if you were to look at a building of say a bungalow, that cost per square meter includes the foundation, it includes the floor, it includes the ceiling and the roof, and assumes that the cost per square meter is inclusive of services, things to do with electrical and plumbing, as an average. So therefore, if you're looking at a house of 100 square meters, using finishes which are standard, and I'll explain just now what standard finishes are, you probably use about 30,000 shillings per square meter. This therefore means that your house will cost you 4.5 million. A bigger home of 300 meters squared will cost you, at the same rate of 30,000 square meters, will end up costing you 9 million to completion. Now the import of this is that it is very important for you to understand how much space your project will cost you. And in the next slide, you are going to see something we call a schedule of areas. These are schedules prepared by an architect to show you what the brief you've given him. He's broken it down per square meter and tabulated the total cost of square meter there. Then at that point, he's multiplied it with a rate per square meter to give you an estimate of costs. And at that point is when one is meant to understand, roughly, can I afford this project? And if not, you're meant to calm down, renegotiate with your family or your company, if you're in a company, and agree, look, we can't afford a house of so much or a building of so much. Let's scale down, bring it down to so much so that we can come down to our budget. So that's the first thing, the size of project. But you'll understand with me, and it's very clear that the materials you use in a project affects the cost per square meter. For example, I've got some imagery here. This is a room done with a screed floor, painted red. The cost for a screed floor, which is just basically cement and paint, is much less than, say, this room, which is a timber floor. It is also different in cost to this room, which is a ceramic tile floor. It is also different in cost to this room, which is a PVC tile floor. Now, this is where I had said earlier, the 30,000 say would be for a standard building in Nairobi. Or if you went now to somewhere like Mombasa, a standard building in Mombasa would be probably 28,000 shillings. But I have to say this, if you use now a timber floor, this is probably assumes a ceramic tile finish. If you go now to a timber floor building, this rate now moves from 30,000 to say something like 35,000 shillings per square meter. If you went now to very high level and very many units in high-end areas like Karen, Muthaiga, we look at anywhere from 45,000 shillings to even sometimes as high as 60,000. Some very extremely high income homes are in the region of 100,000 shillings, 120,000 shillings per square meter, because it is calculated on an average. So if your services are very expensive, your fittings are very expensive, then the average cost will go up. But let's come down to a standard finish. A standard finish now is also dependent on the area. Where are you building this home? Is it being done in an urban center where labor costs are much higher than in a rural setting? The rate for the same product in an urban center is higher than the rate for the same product in an area out in the counties. It is being done, what mode, the location is important, but also the mode of construction. How are you building it? Are you looking for a contractor who you tell him, this is my plan, deliver for me this home, and I'll pay you cash when it is done? That form of construction is full contract, and full contract is generally more expensive than the other forms of construction, which means probably you're going to build it yourself, buy the materials, get a fundi, and you pay the fundi on a daily basis. There are pros and cons about any system of construction you take. We'll tackle them in another show. But for now, the cost of construction, because say if you're doing even a simple standard home for 30,000 and you engage a contractor, he'll probably charge you for the same development 40,000. Why is he charging 40,000? Because he's charging you for his profit and his cost of finance. Because he has to come in with his own money, pay him, then on valuation by a quantity surveyor, you pay him what he has spent. So therefore that, you need to pay a premium for it. It is also important to note that the price and the cost of a building is also very dependent on time. How long are you going to take a building? How long are you going to take the project for? Time is a direct function of labor. And therefore, you find if a project is done quickly, then effectively it is more efficient than a project that drags longer. We have found in our lives as building professionals that a project which goes quickly, the labor it is utilized in a more efficient manner. The contractor is careful about how he deploys his labor. He's able to squeeze the most out of his labor force. A project that drags has a lot of wastage, both of labor and materials. So it will certainly cost you more. It is very important to know also where your source of funding is coming from. If you're building it in cash, then the source of funding is not zero. That cash could have been making more money for you doing elsewhere. So it costs you just probably the loss of opportunity of that amount of money. If you're going in to get a loan to build for you, it is important to know that the longer you take the loan for, the more you pay for it before your development either starts giving you money or starts saving you money. Because if it's a block of apartments, it will give you an income. If it's a home, it will save you money because probably where you're staying, you're paying rent, and when you move into your home, it saves you the rent. So both of them, the end result is the same, but in a different way. It is also important for even corporates. It's important for corporates to realize how much even an interior design, say you're moving your office from one building to the other, how much will it cost? How much time will it take? Time is very critical in that type of example, because if you thought it was going to take 3 months or 2 months to put up your new office space, and it ends up taking you 6 months, you are now paying rent in 2 establishments for a further extra 4 months that you had not factored in. It is important to know that if you are doing an office block and you are anticipating to get an income from the rentals or from the sales of offices, and that drags say for an extra 6 months or an extra 8 months, then you don't have that income stream that you are depending on. And that has caused very many projects to fail. So it's very, very important that we be sure that we are in the same wavelength when it comes to budget with what the project is going to cost. Next show, we are going to talk about the system of construction. What is this? What are the options available, both for an individual homeowner as well as for a corporate? It is important to realize that before you get into a project, get your facts right so that you can have the questions to ask your professional team and the questions and the answers, and you expect the answers, a proper answer from them, having known what to ask. My name is Edward Mogo, and I'm glad you're watching The Architect. As usual, we are happy to tackle your questions. Our contacts are as below. Be sure to write and email us. Look at give us a post on Facebook. We'll be happy to tackle any question you may have regarding anything to do with the building structure. Thank you, and God bless you.